You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. You got a taste of their experience when I went to Washington, D.C. to film my 100th episode with the Cats Tour, but they are now going on tour in another Andrew Lloyd Webber show, Jesus Christ Superstar. So I'm excited to have even more fun and talk about their experience in Cats and their experience in this new show. So they were Skimbleshanks on the U.S. National Tour 6 of Cats. Welcome, John Zamborsky, and thank you for joining me.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Mike. I'm thrilled. I'm a big fan of the pod, so.
I'm excited to have you back because
thank you.
We just scratched the surface with your entire cast. Like we kind of just, we got little pieces here and there, but we had a lot of people involved. So I'm excited to dig a little deeper. And then I love anytime we can bring another Andrew Lloyd Webber show into the Cats universe. So we will talk Jesus Christ Superstar and Cats and figure out all the fun that goes with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's start at the beginning. What is your Cats introduction?
So hear me out. I actually went on cats.wikia.com to find the exact date. I saw US Tour 5.
Okay.
I saw the evening show on November either 28th or 29th at the Peabody Auditorium. So that was 2007. So I was freshly 7 years old when I saw Cats.
7 years old. Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, it was sensory overload. All I think I remember from it was the Conjuring turn from Mr. Mistopheles.
Okay.
So at this point, were you, I remember.
Like, were you dancing at this point? Like, were you already a little into this or no?
I was put into dance when I was 7, so it would have been around that time. I'm not confident that I had my first like recital or like had been in it for long, but I think I knew enough to kind of like be like, oh, he's doing turns in second, or like, oh, he's doing fouettes. And that's, I think, why I remembered it, was because I'd seen like the older girls in the studio doing similar things. So
yeah, you kind of know it's something it's something you're interested in. That
like,
for
sure.
It's not like it was the beginning of where you saw it and it's like, I got to go do this and you sign up for Dance Next. You're already doing a little bit of it, and that's what's memorable. Do you remember the names when you were 7? Yeah, like the crazy names when you were 7.
I remembered. I think I only knew Macavity because of the song, and Mr. Mistopheles because of the song. Oh, and Rum Tum Tugger. Just like the songs
they pretty much all sing their name. So it's like, I remember Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser. That was like all I remembered from the first time I saw it. So I'm always curious, like, what resonates? Is it the dancing? Is it the junkyard? Is it the craziness of cats being around you?
It was, and I'm sure this is common for a lot of people. Memory was, that is something that I knew in the context of the show, out of the context of the show. And also, I got from the merch booth, my grandma bought me one of the snow globes.
Oh, cool.
And it has like Monk and maybe like Demeter and Jemima, or like one of those costume plots. And you twist it and it plays Memory. So Cats has always been very near and dear.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you have that aha moment of like, I need to do this, or were you still too young to even kind of grasp that this might be your future? I don't
know. I'm in like such a weird place with like performing right now that like, I feel like I feel like at that age I had no clue that it would be something that I did. It definitely planted the seed of like, I could do this. But I think I was probably too young to like understand any of the practicalities of it. But
yeah, no, that makes sense. There's definitely that moment of this is my future. Like this is all I'm gonna do. Or even like as I played sports growing up, there was I want to be on the stage. Like I want to play here.
I do remember that moment for me when I was 13, but it was with Newsies instead of Cats.
Okay.
But both heavy dance shows, so.
Totally. Now, did you see it ever again before auditioning?
Yes, I did. And I saw it in either 2016 or 2017 at the Neil Simon. So I saw
so
the
you
version.
came to Broadway, the new version. Did you at that point, I mean, at 7, it's probably hard, but did you notice the different choreographies?
I don't think that I did. I noticed that this production, maybe it was just because seeing it in person, like some of the costume differences and stuff like that seemed like really vibrant and modern, which was cool. But I don't think that I noticed I don't think that it clicked in my head that Andy had worked on that one until a few years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing on Broadway, you're much more of an adult at this point.
Yeah.
Did you have kind of the same, I guess I'm asked this because this was my reaction, was just like, wow, what did I see? Yeah. But I didn't have the 7-year-old experience to like relate it to. So what was that feeling seeing it the second time of like, oh, wow, the show is what you remembered from 7 or different or more or less?
I think it exceeded my expectations. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, well, at least my perspective on Cats growing up was like, I don't really know what to make sense of it, but like, it was one of the longest running musicals. We respect it. Like I guess I didn't really think a whole lot about it. But I remember seeing it and like Jeremy was a standout. Loved his episode, by the way. Jeremy was a standout as Skimbleshanks. I think that's the first time that I became aware of that character existing. And then Ricky as Misto. I remember watching, because that was the only thing I remembered. So I remember watching that and being like, I don't remember it being this cool. He's popping and like you have like the new arrangements from the revival. And I was like, I don't remember this at all, but it was phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Jeremy is awesome. He's actually off in Frozen right now.
That's so cool.
In Indiana recently,
that's
which
awesome.
was so fun to see because I'm like, it's Skimbleshanks, but he's just so good at everything he does.
And I remember being like, because like you're getting to that age where you could be one of those bodies on stage, and like at that point I knew like I want to do this, and so I was like, oh, that's like an older guy, like he's probably like he's not as young as like some of the younger people in the cast. But I remember seeing him and being like, oh, he's like, he's definitely one of the older people in the ensemble or in the cast. And then he pops out this double Toron lair at the end, right before, like right in front of old dude, right before he brings all the kittens around. And I was just like jaw on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, where did that come from? And wow, that was just everything I could have hoped for out of his evening.
The parallels to sports is so funny because it's like he's the older side of the tour and it's like, he's like not old at all.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, he's aging in this, in this dance show. But it's like the athletes who are 31 and they're already at the peak of their sports career.
Yeah.
So now bring me to getting the tour. So you land Skimbleshanks as the 6th tour you're going out.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah. I actually knew some people from year 1. In the theater, like you kind of know everyone or like at least follow them online, something like that. And I had a lot of friends that had told me about going in for the boot camp and all this stuff. And that seemed like the big show, especially because a lot of equity things weren't happening out of the pandemic. That seemed like the big show that every dancer wanted to be in. And so it was like huge. Like I remember being at like my little summer stock, like seeing like the casting announcement for the tour going out and everyone was just losing their minds. But so that was kind of like the first time I had heard that the tour was going out. This would have been January of 2022. And I had just left school to start. I had moved to the city because I got like this job on Long Island. And I was like, I'm not like in class. Like I was part-time, just kind of finishing out the time in North Carolina. So I moved up to the city and that allowed me to audition for a lot of things, including Cats. And, I guess I forgot this. No, I guess my introduction to the tour was I was studying abroad in London in the fall of 2021. And that's when, Sean took a month off from tour. And so they were looking for a temporary replacement for Tumble Brutus.
Okay.
And so I sent in a tape when I was abroad and I got a call back and I was like, I don't think I can make this happen because it's just so much money and I'm like abroad for the semester. And then callbacks come and go. They end up not even hiring anyone. Like they end up just like having a cover step into that role for the time. And So I had already like done the audition combos and become aware of this production. And then when people were deciding whether or not to come back and they had their auditions, I went in and did a lot of the same things that I had already done on tape in person, which was really fun because it felt like super comfortable and it wasn't like the stress of learning anything on the spot. And then I was called back for Mungo and Skimble were the two, which I feel like every like short or shorter guy was called back for Mungo Jerry and Skimbleshanks. And it was great. The vibes in the room were always really good from this team. And I remember when I went in for my final callback, it was like sandwiched in between things. I was about to go up to Maine to work a gig. And they asked me in the room, because in the Dropbox they give you, there's a few different cuts for everything. And so I picked the shorter Skimbleshanks cut because I was like, this is less words to memorize. So I picked that one. And then they were like, what made you pick this one? And I said it was the one with like that had been updated or uploaded most recently. And they were like, okay, we're actually going to need you to do this one, which is like the first verse through like the patter section.
Wow.
And then it was like almost the whole song, maybe like minus a verse. And as the good actor that I try to be, and they teach you, I don't know if they teach you this in school, but something that I think is really helpful is if you're not asked to look over something explicitly in the off chance that they might want you to look at it, have like kind of an idea. So it'll look like you are better than you are. Because if they're like, go learn this, and then you come back and it's memorized because you looked at it before, like, you know, that starts you off on a really good foot. So I kind of did that with this. And they wanted to do, I always feel very proud of this moment. They wanted me to film a tape, and being a working actor, I know that it really is not fun to film tapes. So I just asked if I could do it there in the room, and it went really, really well. And I got to like leave without like any other obligation over my head. Just like that was the last thing, and I'll either get it or not. And then I found out a few weeks later. And what was crazy, sorry, I love to talk. A crazy coincidence. I thought the universe was telling me that I was going to get Mungo Jerry because I see someone who looks just like Jess Laprado walk by me on the street, and I turn around and his backpack says Arab, like the character from West Side Story. And he was the OG 2016 Mungo Jerry on Broadway. And he just passed me, and I was like, oh my God, that's literally
sign.
him. The backpack proved it because the West Side movie just came out, and I was like, this is my sign that I'm going to be Mungo Jerry. And that's the universe. And I called my mom. I told her about how the audition went and about seeing this person on the street that I've admired from like 13 on. And then I found out about the show, and it was crazy. Thanks for letting me talk for 10 minutes about that.
Amazing. It's your side. You saw it. You just saw AK. It was, forget which one. That was the sign that you saw. You saw one right after. And you're,
you're ready. I don't know if you've ever been to Pearl or like Ripley Greer, any of those places right on 8th Avenue. But as soon as I stepped out of the door, he walked right in front of me. And I was like, that's the universe, baby.
I've not auditioned for anything, but I am aware of what they all are, just from TikTok and knowing people in the industry, of the craziness of that, of your world's just, to me, it's so far from what I do professionally every day that it's fascinating. It's like just a different world.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk, we talked a lot, for anybody listening, if, go back to the 100th episode, you'll hear a lot of some of my kind of core normal questions that I ask, but I want to ask you a couple different questions.
For sure.
And then I have one moment that I want to bring back up, because I don't know if you remember this from January of 2023. Yeah, that's when it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned one thing, we didn't get really detailed into it, but you mentioned that you have a bell as Skimbleshanks.
I do, yeah.
On your collar. And you have some Christmas-based story that goes with this. Yeah. I need to hear the full thing.
Yeah, I guess the full, at least from what I can remember, is when you're in PR training, they tell you about the fandom, and they tell you about the people that are fans of the show and how deep it goes. And that can't prepare you for the reality of like Tumblr. Yeah. I don't really use Tumblr, but like we all downloaded it once people started seeing things posted just to like like honestly, like, you're not allowed to film the show. You're not allowed to film things for your reel. So like you want any chance you get to see what the show looks like, you want to take it. So if someone posted something, you'll go on Tumblr looking to find it. So I looked up hashtag Skimbleshanks and I found this, I guess it's called like head canon. And it's like fan theories that some people accept as being the truth.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm not totally sure how.
Yeah, I mean, the canon's interesting because that's actually really how a lot of the show started. I found the Cats Wikipedia fan page, and there's a whole canon section, which is, and the thing about the canon that's crazy is this show is uncovered some of it as like, here's the root source of that. Jeremy was involved in one. There was canon between Tugger and Skimble, and it purely was from Jeremy and Tyler Haynes. And it was like, they were like, yeah, we did this. It's not part of the show. It was just like a look they gave, and it became canon.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of canon that's out there that's like not at all real. There's some that's been proven. There's some that's been disproven. And there's some that's just the fans are split, which is, I think, what makes the show fun. But there's a lot of like wild. I've made up a lot. I've had reviews and I've had messages and comments of stuff where I've flat out made this up. There's no real reason why it should be. It's just like, that'd be a fun way to interpret this. And some of the fans are like, no, that's wrong. And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware that's wrong. That's what's fun. And that's canon. So that's, I think you found one on Tumblr.
So I found this one on Tumblr. And if I remember correctly, it was something to the tune of, Santa is delivering toys one night and he finds like a small ginger tabby cat, in one of the houses. And I guess young Skimbleshanks was looking very, very eager, very curious. And so Santa reaches into his bag and gives him this silver bell. And then I guess Skimbleshanks cherishes it and wears it around his neck, or maybe his owners put it on his collar or something like that. But that was, I guess, sort of someone's reasoning for why he has the silver, the bell in the feature outfit.
I love.
Yeah, and I just thought that was the sweetest thing because, like, like just thinking of like the cute little young Skimbleshanks.
I never had Santa in the Jellicle story.
Yeah,
which
I didn't
was
either.
Kind of fun. I would love to hear when people listen to this, the fans, if that's like, what's your bell theories? Like, who's got a theory on where the bell came from or why it's there?
Yeah, and we all thought it was just like the few people I told at work about it, like, just thought it was the most darling thing ever. And so
it's very
I was just
wholesome.
like, yeah, it is. And actually, so everyone got Cats tattoos after the show, or after the tour ended. And so mine is this, if you can see it.
Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna have you send me that when we'll post on social media.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Got the
my friend Matt did that.
Your cat's bell.
Yeah, it's my bell, and
That's
it has
fun.
a little engraving of a train. And I was like, that
that is so fun. We'll make sure we share that too with the post and the story, so people can see what we're talking about here. So were you able to add that to any parts of the story? Like when you're on stage and you're doing your number, did you bring a Christmas piece into this ever?
I really tried. I tried that when you came in DC, because I remember that being one of the things you wanted us to think about, or you wanted me to think about.
I really challenged you.
Yeah,
because you told me about it.
And then there was also something, I think you compared like another character to Father Christmas, or something like that.
Peter.
And so
Peter.
Peter. And so so there was like, I remember during naming of cats when we say Peter, I remember thinking like Mike told me to think about this, and I think that's as far as it went for me.
All you
I
get.
just like had a little giggle, and then
the one performance I hope to have influenced in my entire time of doing this got your one Christmas version in. Okay.
But you remember what you said about the train light, about how you're like, don't point it.
Yeah.
I saw Cats a few days ago in Japan. I saw the Japanese production, and you're absolutely right. The train light shined directly into my face.
Yes.
And so I felt your pain.
So I will tell you, because I wrongfully blamed you the first time. It is not Skimbleshanks that does it. And I don't remember actually who has the light.
It's Misto. It's Misto.
Okay, so it's Ibn. So I gotta go back to Ibn because when it happened, when I saw where our seats were, like Al and I were seeing the show after talking to you that day. And I was like, oh no, my seats are exactly where my seats were the first time I saw the show. And I was like, I had just told you all about how I was so angry. And I always said it was during building the train.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, it's too high. There's no way. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that makes sense. So then of course that train piece happens. And I'm like, you were totally right. It's nowhere near us. It's when Macavity comes out the second time and it gets real dark on stage and there's a couple lights that pan.
Yeah.
And it's still, you're right. It's Ibn. I think it's Ibn or somebody
wait, no,
does
the
it.
pan?
Is that you?
The pan's me. Yeah.
So then it is you.
So it's
you
me.
hit me square in the face again. In January, I was sitting there. I remember being like, oh, it wasn't the light. He was totally right. And then all of a sudden, what was it like 5 minutes later? It's not that much later. Lights go dark on the stage. You're doing the whole Macavity and everyone's kind of scurrying around. And the light pans and it hit Alan and I square in the face. And I was like,
Mike,
you
I'll
did
be
it
honest,
right
though,
again.
you told me that and it was hard
You were
to...
probably aiming
I
for
probably
me.
aimed for you if I know myself.
Yeah. I think you like looked square in my eye and said, okay, how can I get this light as
For sure.
directly on you
For
as
sure.
possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same thing. And then I did see it the next night and I was on the other side and I'm like, if you want to be safe, you just got to go to the right side of the theater.
For sure. Yeah.
Because it, again, square in the face, which cracked me up at one point. I wasn't even mad that time because it was like so comical of like, God, they were right. They were totally right on this. And then 5 minutes later, right?
I'm
square
like,
in the
yep,
face.
I was right about it.
He sees me. I was right. So now I'm going to make him pay.
For sure.
I'm glad you got to experience the other side of that though.
Yeah, it was...
Kind of sucks, right?
Yeah, kind of. And it... we always got notes to like not let that take a lot of time. And that was like at least like 30 seconds of silence. There wasn't... Because we had a vamp, like we had like a little like pulse in ours. This one was completely silent. It was crazy.
Wow.
So good though. It's so fun to see Cats after being in it.
Yeah.
There's such a greater appreciation for it.
Yeah. What was different in their production? Because like everyone has nuances.
So some of the biggest things that were different was, I want to say that they had Jemima. I don't remember who she replaced, but they had a Jemima.
Syllabub.
They had a syllabub and a Jemima, which was confusing because normally it's like one or the other. They used their Tantamile was in the Cass costume, so she was the brown cat. And the twins were, I don't remember. One of them was Tumble Brutus, and I think the other one may have been Syllabub.
So they had different names
They had different names.
Wow.
Yeah. So Tumble was like the Coricopat of that. They had Griddlebone because they had Growl Tiger's Last Stand.
Yep.
In this production, cool differences. They still did Green Eyes, which we never got the chance to do. And then also their set was on a revolve.
Interesting.
And so something that Chrissy told us in rehearsal was that in the original production in London, the audience was sat and the stage was here and the audience almost was the thing that moved around to the other side. So you really felt like you were intruding into their space, which is something that they told us a lot in rehearsal.
Yeah.
It was like, this is the night that you're in their space. But in their production, they had like this giant wall of trash built up. And then at the top of the overture, it just spins around and it opens like into their junkyard. And it was so cool.
That is cool. Yeah. Green Eyes, other countries, cities.
Yeah.
It just didn't come to the US yet. I'm wondering when it comes back to the US, if they'll say now.
I think with like a 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Like when they have that, I think it'll be there.
Yeah. Because I heard the international tour, that tour, and then even, I forget where there was another one. There was another production going on. They're like, yeah, we did Green Eyes. I'm like, oh, that's so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Then you get to scare people out in the audience to start the show.
Yeah.
I want to hear a few fun, memorable moments from tour. Because, I obviously got to experience DC, but you were all over the place. You ended in Hawaii. What do you remember? What were some of the funny moments from your tour?
Ooh, I remember we had a few show stops.
Okay.
It was always like for like tire issues or stuff like that. But one of them we had, Alexis was our sub. She came onto the tour as our like deck SM or ASM. towards the end of the show or the end of the tour. And I remember in Vancouver, we had Vancouver and then 2 weeks off, and then Hawaii was our last stop. The tires going up were already like, there's probably like 2 minutes of the show left, and we see her just walk on stage in front of. So I'm in the line closest to the audience for the whole tire lifting and for addressing, and I just remember she walked right in front of all of us and just like grabbed me and Rump and like started like brushing us like up stage of the drop down, because they're like, we're about to do a show hold. And it was just so funny because it had probably only been like, she'd only been with us for like a month, and she just like walked out on stage and just like started corralling cats. And so that was really funny. That was certainly a memorable moment.
With the only 2 minutes left.
Yeah. However long, right as we're sending.
Yeah. So there's a dressing, right? Like there's just the very end.
Yeah.
At that point, just let Grisabella walk off.
Yeah, I think the next day, I want to say like maybe we had a Plan B show where the tire didn't rise and Taylor just walked up the thing.
Yeah, Taylor strolls to the heaviside layer.
Yeah, just like a nice little jaunt to the heaviside layer.
Yeah, it seems so common of like this, especially in tour, you just never know what you're going to get in each theater.
Absolutely,
to get it all to work.
I feel like that's probably like the hardest part is any of like the hydraulics or things like that going awry. But I also remember I one time I didn't like the tap shoe change in Gumby didn't always happen.
Okay.
Especially like whenever we'd like I halfway through the tour started getting the feet cut out of my unitard, so like that changed things. But like anyway, all that to say, I did the tap break of that like barefoot, like with my human foot out once. And everyone was like tapping, and then they would look over at my foot and be just like, "Oh Lord, the dogs are out."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I thought this was cats. Put those dogs away." Like that kind of vibe.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
Just no tap sound coming with it.
Yeah. And then like maybe 2 times throughout the 200 and whatever shows that we did, we had like the Plan B skimble stairs where like you fall off the stairs and then you just do the pose on the ground.
Yeah. That's
those are probably
train.
Like
did you ever have the train break?
There was no, we never had the train break, but there was one night where it was backwards, so like the smokestack was facing the wrong way. That's always a funny thing that happens. One time, and this is Michelle Mish, who you mentioned that you're going to talk to soon. There was one night where where she had to like build the train, like the part that she's supposed to be handed. So in like all the cities you go to, you have like a local crew that joins and learns the show. And I think that there was like some miscommunication. So that set piece that's normally like held right off stage for her wasn't there. And so she like ran backstage to the gondola because Mish is incredible and like knew where it was. And then like the train got built in maybe like an 8 count or something.
Wow.
Something insane. But hey, superstar, she made it happen. But that was like one of those moments where
on the fly,
I'm like catching my breath up on the car boot, because that's like, I'm not even singing during that part. They're building the train. And that was one of those moments where I'm like, I am watching this whole thing unfold. I don't know if there's going to be a train tonight. So
yeah. Or you're just missing a wheel, or it's part of it's there. But yeah, I think that's pretty crazy that all that stuff happens. From what I've heard too, if you add in Green Eyes, you add a whole different dynamic, because you've got to in every city figure out how to get out into the audience without them noticing, and then back on stage in some capacity in like 3 minutes. So
that's been something fun about JCS, is that we enter in whatever theaters allow it. We actually enter in through the back of the house. So I imagine our sort of pathways of being led by either like security or management to the back of the house probably would have been the same kind of thing for Green Eyes had it been happening when our time was out.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. Wow, this is the best pivot possible. So let's talk.
I felt it. I kind of felt it like when I said it. I was like, I hope that Mike.
It's time. It's ready.
We're
ready.
Segue. Let's go.
I love it. I am excited to talk about another Andrew Lloyd Webber show. One I'm less familiar with for sure, but I always love doing 2 things with the show. One is I like to compare the characters in Jesus Christ Superstars to who would their cat be. But it sounds like you already had a different thought about this, which is of all of the cast, not probably actors, but of all the characters, you've picked your Jellicle choice out of the Jesus Christ Superstar show. So let's start there.
I do. I think that Judas might be Grisabella.
Okay.
Because the whole show's like, I wouldn't say that it's told from Judas's perspective, but it's certainly told with him as a kind of like the protagonist in mind. You know, it's I would say that Judas and Jesus are pretty equal as far as like stage time or like bows or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, in our production, it talks a lot about, I'm not personally religious and I don't like to talk about, like, I like to talk about the show and like not in a religious way because like because our production really takes a lot of like what you think about or like what your expectations are about it. And it kind of makes it into more of a rock concert.
That's kind of what it feels like in general, though, right? Like it's been a long time since I've seen it. It doesn't feel as religious as it does centered around the story, but it's definitely a different vibe to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is Judas your choice because it's Grisabella?
Judas is my choice because he has the impossible task, and he knows it that God has picked him to kind of be the villain. Because like someone has to betray God for this thing to work. It's him. He also sings some pretty iconic songs, and I feel like that goes hand in hand with memory. So yeah, I would, and you always leave, at least like me and my mom, we both love this show. We always talk about how bad we feel for Judas and how bad we feel for Pontius Pilate. But all that to segue into, I think Pontius Pilate is Rum Tum Tugger. Because in our version, Pontius Pilate is he's like the older rock star. He's kind of like the Mick Jagger of compared to like a younger pop star Jesus. And so for me, he's Tugger. He has like the leather jacket and the chest tat, and I feel like
I had him purely because of the way Wikipedia describes him too, and this is where a lot of my data is coming from here. The good old Wikipedia read is that he foresees the events. Like, that was the way it was said, and so because of that only, I went Old Deuteronomy.
Oh, yeah. But I think that
you're gonna know this way better than I will.
No, I think that is really good because there's a song called Pilate's Dream where he talks about him having the dream of him condemning Jesus that happens later in the show. So I think that's also a great pick for Pilate.
And I had for Judas, because of the concern for the poor was the description, I had Jenny Anydots. Because Grisabella doesn't give me that vibe, but I do see your version of Judas for that. Like, this is that definitely does feel Grisabella. So what's fun about this is you can interpret this a thousand ways. Another
great pick for Grisabella would be Herod. Because in our version, Herod is like this very old, decrepit man who's like kind of going crazy. And like in the way that you see Grisabella and you're like, wow, that person's been through a lot. Their best days are maybe behind them, but they're still putting on the glamour cat kind of persona. I feel like Herod's a good pick for Grizz.
Yeah. I wasn't sure where to put Grizz. I didn't actually place her. I was like, maybe Mary, but that seems too out of place. Mary was when I really struggled with where to pick for Mary.
Yeah, what did you pick for Mary?
I don't know if you have thoughts. I kind of like leaned towards Grizz, but it was more of like, I'm like, all right, I already placed Jenny. I was thinking about mom, like who's my mom's like characters, and I already placed Jenny. Grizz kind of does feel like mom vibe, but she left. And then I'm like, I don't know, it's not Bomb and Demeter. They don't kind of give that vibe. So I was starting to go down, and then everyone else gets really young. And so I'm like, maybe is it Cass? Like it could be a little bit of Cass, but just doesn't fit very easily.
To me, it's like I think I always thought of, so like Mary Magdalene in our show, like that Jesus, like her relationship to Jesus is left like pretty ambiguous. Or left, you know, it doesn't really hint at any one thing. And so in my mind, if I think of like Jesus as monk, which is I like kind of just where my head went, I did think of Demeter just like a little bit for Mary, because Mary is like the one person who can sort of calm down Jesus. And so they have they have love between them in, platonic, romantic, however you interpret it. So I guess like if Jesus is monk, I could see Demeter as Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had Jesus. I could see a little Tugger in Jesus too, just with the rock star
definitely.
vibe. But I think I could see monk. Who else? Who are we missing? There's Peter. So I had Peter as Peter.
See, I put Peter as like Pounce or Tumble Brutus. Because
I didn't think about the character at all. I just was like, we've got a Peter. I can bring Peter back into the fold.
We like to clown on Peter a lot in the show. We like to say that he's just like kind of clueless at moments.
So this is just
but he has a really good heart. Yeah. So I'm like, he's like a Tumble Brutus. Yeah. Okay. Just has like the biggest heart, full of energy. So happy to be there.
Who am I missing? Who else is left?
Simon is, I guess I could see, I don't know. So Simon has a feature and he's like urging Jesus and his followers to like take like a more like aggressive stance of like standing up for themselves and not be as passive, like to actually like fight with the Romans. And so I don't think that there's necessarily a song that like fits that bill in Cats.
That's Krautiger.
I know it might be
right.
That's where.
Do you have a Skimble?
I know. I don't think I do. No.
Okay.
Which stinks. But yeah, I guess
nobody's keeping everybody in line and keeping everybody on time. Just y'all just rocking out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do have, so a character that's not on this, that's in our production, is called Mob Leader. She's a featured dancer. And she's sort of like, her spot in the show and in a lot of the choreography is like, you can't tell whether she's like the people inciting the riot, inciting the violence, or if she's like they always say, like they always said during rehearsals, like you can't tell if she's the beginning or the end, the alpha or the omega. Is she stirring the pot, or is she following and like being like the Greek chorus and commenting about what's happening?
Okay, I think I've got my answer now for that. Who do you have?
It depends. My mind, I see her as a villain sometimes. So part of my brain went to Macavity, or kind of like the twins.
Oh, the twins! I was thinking Rumpelteazer. Because it's like kind of starting some stuff, but not always sure. It might just be mischievous. But when you first started talking, I was like, oh, this is Macavity.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, maybe it's not that fast. I didn't think about the twins. The twins are a good answer for that.
But with Mob Leader, I think that I'm sure that people have different interpretations. Sometimes it's like is the person really there, or are they just like personifying the tension? And so for that, like I think Macavity too.
Yeah.
But no, this is so fun. I like haven't thought about most of these, so I'll have to think about like the high priests. I have no idea.
Yeah, we can. If you have better ideas or you want like lay them out, we can share it when this episode comes out. Like here's our final answers.
Yeah, the final cast list. We'll just put that right on the bulletin board.
Yeah, we'll have it there. I'm excited. You're going to be. This will come out in January, and so you'll be on tour when this is live, so people can see you all over the country, right?
Yeah, we're enjoying a lovely break back home with my fam for Christmas, and just enjoying the holidays with them. And then in January we get started, and we go through early January to mid May. So a little bit of Canada there, but mostly the States.
So North America. So I'll link the website. So if
that'd be great.
If you're going to be in a town near you, go check out the show and then let us know if you think there's different cats.
Who did you see on that stage and what cat were they? It's nice though, compared to like doing Cats. Like obviously both lovely experiences and both shows that I love, like on stage and off. But there's something really nice about doing a one-act show. Like a show with no intermission. It's only an hour and a half. It feels like it zips by. compared to
compared
like
to
when
being
we're
on
crawling out for
stage the
moments of
whole
happiness.
time. Yeah,
Like, and you're sitting there waiting to come in for memory, and you're like, wow, yeah,
exhausted.
yeah.
All right, that was fun. I love doing this with any show that pops up, and I've
Yeah.
not done it with Jesus Christ Superstar, so a new one.
I would love to hear what
okay.
other shows you've done that with.
Oh, over the years, I mean, Six and I have a couple. I had a few where I've drafted it, and then for some reason we just didn't get to the recording, or like something
Sure.
happened, and so all over the place. I remember vividly doing Six. There's been a lot over the years. I did Wicked a couple times, I think. we've done a handful of shows, and a lot of the new shows too. So like when we're doing, New York, and some of those, like when we had cats that were there on those. So
Oh my
it's
gosh,
been fun.
yeah.
Been fun. Okay, let's do some rapid fire. I think
Let's
some
do
of these we've asked already, but I'm gonna keep going with them. So if you could play any cat one night, forget male, female, vocal range, whatever. Just if you go on for one cat one night, who are you going on as?
Tugger for sure.
Tugger.
Yeah.
Just go rock out. I love it. Who are your favorite and least favorite cats? And take the people out of it. Take your castmates out of it. Just personality wise of the cats.
Him being like such a plain Jane, I will say Monk is one of my favorites.
Favorite, okay.
I just think that the role he plays in the show is really great, and I don't think he gets enough praise. Like he really is. He's consistently the it girl,
Yeah.
despite not having like one moment where you're like, oh, that's Monkey Strap. You know what I mean?
He also doesn't get a lot of hate though because of that either. So he's like very rarely on either side of this coin.
Yeah, he's a true neutral. I'd say he's like lawful neutral.
Yeah. He does have a fan base. He's got a little following. There's a couple people that are obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
What about least favorite?
Least favorite, probably Bustopher Jones.
Yeah. Just unnecessary at this point.
Yeah, he just kind of, great song. And the Japanese version also had the extended Bustopher Jones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a few more verses.
I love it. They get more Bustopher Jones, and the Royal Caribbean Cruise gets zero.
Bustopher Jones.
You either go all in or none.
Yeah, I will say, for some reason, Bustopher Jones, like the music in that, is some of the prettiest in the whole show.
Yeah,
like in the whole of St. James. I remember hearing that for the first time and being like, "What is this? What is this song doing?" In like
great song.
Yeah, I feel like some people would skip the track.
Yeah, adds no value as a character.
Yeah,
but a good song.
Yeah.
What is your favorite song from the show?
Oh, it's definitely just Old Deuteronomy.
Old Deuteronomy.
Yeah, because I remember in rehearsal, that was such a bonding moment for us.
Mm-hmm.
On the show every night, it was, there's not a lot of dancing going on in it for most of us. And so it was just like
it's your break. So
it was like a nice grounding moment. And you really felt like the story that like we had been taught in rehearsal and that we were trying to convey, like that was like super present during that moment as well. And so that was just always a blast.
I think that's totally on.
Mm-hmm.
I like to ask a fun one every time, and I try to make them different. So I was thinking about Jesus Christ Superstar, and then I started thinking about mega churches.
Oh,
and so which cat do you think would be the best, like mega church pastor or priest or whatever?
Probably
just like the one. Skimble? You think it's Skimble?
Yeah. I don't think that
had an Old Deuteronomy vibe.
Yeah. I could see that. I think that my brain like went for like Skimble because I don't know. I think I'm just biased. I think Old Deuteronomy is a good answer as well.
I also thought Tugger because I could see, they're like, I saw recently on social media that there was this church that was doing a Christmas show.
Mm-hmm.
It was the production value and the budget were probably bigger than like a few Broadway shows I've seen. It was just like out of control.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could see a Tugger running that show. Like just full on.
Someone super charismatic.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
I love it. Okay. Important question. I know I asked you this already once, but I want to hear, are you going to defend Grisabella or are you going to pick a different vocal choice?
No way. I unfortunately will not be. Again, I will not be supporting Grisabella. I heard this on one of your episodes about, I can't remember his name, but the actor who played Gus on Broadway in the 2016.
Christopher Gurr.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember Christopher saying that in his crafting, like when Gus doesn't get picked, he like crawls off stage and like just dies.
Yeah.
And I've just like, every time I think about Gus, I think about that. And I think about, you know, his crafting for that character. And I just think that we can just like, maybe like let Grisabella back in and be nice and see in what ways, you know, we can help reacclimating her back into the tribe and, you know, finding her role and her place again. And I don't necessarily think that she's I don't think that she is like needing especially in our production, like she's like in like this beautiful fur coat and like, you know, she is like, the postman said she better off being dead. But like Gus is 99, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do think that it's like yes, we acknowledge Grisabella, we invite you back into our family, but then like the person who's like going to crawl off stage and die should be it.
So you're Team Gus.
I'm Team Gus because it would have been Gus had she walked off the other side of the stage during the interval, would have been Gus.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I think Gurr tried to justify it, and I think this is purely for his own thing.
Totally.
But he said he didn't think that if he'd be reborn. He's like, this is it. So it's like, that's part of why he was like, I'm not doing this because like I won't have another life. So I'm not the right choice. I just need to go die.
So he was at life 9.
Yeah, he was at life 9. And I was like, that's just you justifying Grisabella because you have to like sell yourself on stage.
And that is a good actor. Yeah,
that's a good actor.
Yes.
But I'm like, no, I don't think I'm not there with Gus. I think Gus has another life. And I'm with you. I'm Team Gus. I think Grisabella's next year's choice. She'll have a great year with the fam. She'll have some holidays, some birthdays.
And I bet even if she doesn't get the next year, I bet she's still going to be fine.
Yeah, she's probably worthy next year. I'm not sure unless there's another person that's out there that we don't know about. You know, there's other Jellicles that we don't get introduced to. But yeah, I agree. I think she's got more years. You got to be a little revitalized by being welcome back to your family.
Definitely.
I'm Team Gus with you.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad to get this. I've had a nice stretch of non-Gusses, and it's been a lot of Grisabellas recently.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll get back on the Gus train here and start to even that back out. Let's go. She's still about half the votes of the whole show. I mean, of all I've done.
Yeah.
I can actually tell you because I do keep track.
Yes.
So I have a running total, and she currently owns 44% of the votes.
Wow.
So she's close. She's getting up there.
Is she the biggest chunk?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's 44% for her. It's 36% for Gus.
Let's go.
And then 5% for Old Deuteronomy, 3% for Macavity. Skimbles actually got 2%.
Nice.
And then everyone else has 1%. Who has a vote at least.
Okay.
And I do have, let's see here. I have 19 different votes.
Wow.
So there's a good amount of disruption in this 40 plus years of the show.
Old Deuteronomy would be, because at first I thought old dude, I'm like, well, who delivers the male person's mail? Like that's what my brain thinks, like who's going to host, but I guess Monk would just step up.
It's Monk's time, yeah. I think
I'd be interested to see that.
There's that argument's there for sure.
Definitely.
And I've heard a few other interesting ones, and I still want an Edwin Drew style audience vote.
That would
audience
be so
vote,
cool.
Different person each night. It would be so much fun to do that regionally. Like you could do it regionally so easily, and I'm ready. Although your stage, your tire doesn't go up half the time anyways. It sounds like so.
No, I never said that.
No, I know.
Said that, but I hear
every once in a while you got your challenges for sure. It's live theater, and that's what makes it fun.
It is. Yeah.
This has been so much fun. How can people stay in touch? We'll link the show for anybody who wants to see Jesus Christ Superstar, but how can people stay in touch with you?
I am pretty active on Instagram at IZamWhoIam. So it's just like I am who I am, but with a Z in front of the first am.
Love it.
Came up with it in middle school, and it's stuck ever since. So
it's still here.
You can find me on Insta, and that's about it.
That's great. And I want to hear. So if you listen to this and you've got Bell theories or Jesus Christ Superstar theories, shoot them our way. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm going to try to think if there's anything I can grab onto in JCS that like makes the worlds actually linked together. And we can just make a multiverse.
It's a stretch in most of these things I've done.
It is a hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah.
It is a little bit there. I mean, it's still Andrew Lloyd Webber. That's probably our one common. So there's probably some musical similarities. Just knowing he has a style for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the worlds are, Cats and Jesus are definitely not the two I would have paired immediately together.
Yeah. You probably would have better luck with JCS and Joseph.
Yeah.
But,
yes. I did Cats and Phantom.
Challenge.
I forgot about I did Phantom.
Yeah?
So that was another one that was hard to place some of the people. But
sure.
Always a good time. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you for coming on and sharing all the fun stories.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is big dream come true. Love the pod, so thanks for having me on.
I love it. So thank you, and thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at The Wrong Cat Died. Or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.